Welcome to another edition of PACTV Community News.
This week, you'll meet the new editor of the Pembroke Mariner and Express newspaper.
Pembroke has a history of being very interactive with the editor to the public.
And also visit Plymouth's Hedges Pond Recreation Area.
We're off to a really good start. We hope to even build more programming in the upcoming years.
PACTV Community News brings you results from the Kingston's Library Needs Assessment Survey.
People had lots to say about the age of our computers, the availability of technology training.
And we'll meet an author from Duxbury with useful information for parents and for the new school year.
I remember walking out of the kindergarten orientation and feeling like, wow, she's going to this big school and I know nothing about it.
PACTV Community News reports on current threats from mosquitoes in Plymouth County.
The state has developed what's called their surveillance and response plan, and that's based on what we've learned about Tripoli and West Nile virus.
Our Design Corner segment presents tips on gardening in your own backyard.
I wanted to bring you here to show you what you can do with a small amount of earth to make a vegetable garden.
And Town Talk comes from Plymouth. Your local news begins right now on PACTV Community News. The Kingston Public Library recently updated their needs assessment study. Begun more than a year ago, the survey sought to learn more about what town residents and non-residents want from their public library. PACTV Community News talked with the Kingston Library Director to learn the results.
I'm Sia Stewart. I'm the director of the Kingston Public Library, and I'd like to tell you about the work of the library to anticipate the needs of the community for library services for the next 20 years. So what we've done so far to evaluate what the community is looking for is we have distributed a survey. We distributed it online through our library website and in a variety of locations through town. One of the pieces of good news is that the community is really happy with the library staff. Almost every survey response that talked about library staff was really appreciative of the work the staff here do. So that's a great thing. But the other issues that came up, the top three issues I would say are shelf height, and that means the height at which we shelve books, both high and low. That's an issue because if things are up too high, then people have to climb up on stools to get them. If they're too low, then people who have trouble bending have trouble getting to them. The second issue that came up was a really, really strong request for more quiet space. And that would be people needing space to study or to work. A lot of people come in here to use the library in between appointments or to meet somebody for a small quiet conference, or people who are tutoring. The third area that came up is technology, and people had lots to say about the age of our computers, the availability of technology training for the public. People would like to see a lot more training offered. So those are all areas we're going to be looking at. I'm really happy to say that we actually will be able to address some of the technology issues. This year at annual town meeting, the town voted to give us $20,000 to do IT upgrades, and we're in the process of sorting out exactly what it is we can do with that $20,000. So some of those concerns will be addressed really soon, thanks to the town meeting.
Plymouth's Hedges Pond is a 26-acre great pond located in the village of Cedarville. With aid from the town's Community Preservation Fund, the area was developed and opened up for recreation in 2011. PACTV Community News caught up with Plymouth's Recreation Director to see the results.
So Hedges Pond opened 3 summers ago. This is our 3rd summer. Originally on our 1st summer, we were just a beach, so we didn't have the active recreation components. Last year we finished that project and started our half-day camp. This is our second season with our half-day camp in operation. When the town first purchased the property through the community preservation funds, the stipulation was that we be able to generate revenue to maintain the property, which is often a difficult challenge. And so what we decided to do was start a revolving account which would ensure that all revenues that were taken in at this property, everything from class fees to parking fees, would stay in an account established just for the renovation of the park. And we've been very successful so far. This is our 2nd year with that revolving fund. And through the class fees and also through the parking fees, we're about $54,000 now, as of right now in the account. That money is now used to pay for some of the regular upkeep. All of the staff that we use here is actually self-supporting through the revenues. So we're off to a really good start. And we hope to even build more programming in the upcoming years to build up that revolving fund even more. And hopefully that will allow us to tackle some of the existing capital projects, the big ticket items that still need to be addressed in this facility. One of the great things about Hedges Pond was we get to work with this park from the beginning. It's one of the few parks in town that was a blank slate. We got to actually design it so that it would be a park that filled many needs or satisfied many needs. And our biggest challenge was to have an active recreation component where kids could play basketball, tennis, soccer, and also utilize the beach. But we also maintain the beautiful walking trails and improve the picnicking areas so that it's just a great place for a family to spend a day. One of the great things about the facility is, originally when we were looking to establish a funding source, we looked at a full-day camp, and in fact town meeting voted on that. But the property became so popular that people were literally waiting at the gates to get in. And so to appease them, we decided to go with a half-day option, where Monday through Friday we would open or end the camp at 12 and let the public in at 12:30. On the weekends, all day. So lifeguards here, and the facility's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So hopefully we satisfy every group, the need to raise revenue and also for the public to be able to get in and utilize the facility. And that camp runs from the 3rd week in June until the 3rd week in August. So after that, this is open year-round for recreation. The great thing about having a facility like this, of this size, is that it's a work in process. You have room to grow, and as the community needs change, you can help meet them when you have 128 acres of parkland like this. And I really think a lot of the credit goes to the Community Preservation Committee for seeing this gem and realizing it, and also for the selectmen's support, and ultimately town meeting voted this. So come down and enjoy it.
The Pembroke Mariner and Express newspaper has a new editor, and PACTV Community News stopped by to meet him.
I went to college for journalism. I went to Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. It's where I decided I wanted to get into the field, and I got to be the editor-in-chief of the college paper. So after I got out of school, I worked at the Middleborough Gazette, where my job was, I was the reporter covering Lakeville, and I worked there for about a year. So I got to know how to do town coverage, and from there I took a job here, for the last year, and I think it was a year and 3 months, I covered Norwell and Hanover for the Norwell Mariner and the Hanover Mariner. And then when the Pembroke position opened up, I had already been sort of familiar. I worked with the previous editor a little, Dave Polana, on a couple of joint stories. So I was definitely eager to get into it, so I applied for it and got it. So it's a different position. It's not, you're not just worrying about the news, you have to worry about every aspect of the newspaper, so it's a different thing. But I like it. It's very in-depth, very thorough, and you really get to know the town top to bottom, and I can already tell, like a month into the job, I really get a good perspective of everything in the town. Pembroke has a history of being very interactive with the editor to the public. There's been a lot of good communication between the editor and the paper, especially through social media. So right off the bat, that's where I wanted to start growing the paper, the product of the Pembroke Mariner and Express. A lot of regular posting to Twitter and Facebook, especially Facebook has a huge following in Pembroke. So we've been trying to do that at the same time, kind of bring that interactive feel into the newspaper itself. We've already added a couple things like Facebook feedback, and we put the poll on the op-ed page now. And I'm going to start taking walks through some of the nature in Pembroke, and so I can put a couple pictures in every week. Just try to make it a little more interactive with the community. That's the hope. Since I've been in the town, I've been pretty blown away by how open everybody seems to be with not only me, but with each other. Pembroke, for instance, I have what they call an owner-operator position. I'm the editor. I do a lot of the reporting. We fill in the gaps with freelancers. There's other papers like where I came from, Norwell, Hanover, which has an editor and a reporter. I was the reporter. Craig Salters is the editor of Hanover and Norwell. Because, I mean, no matter what the situation is, you're aiming for the best possible coverage, most well-rounded. You know, you want to make sure you hit the selectmen, the schools. You got to cover police, fire, anything that's happening. At the same time, you have to get human interest. That's why I'm so big on interaction with the community, because I'm always going to be able to talk to the police. I'm always going to be able to talk to the fire. I'm always going to be able to go to selectmen's meetings and school committee meetings. But the only way you're going to get the really cool, the really interesting person-to-person feature stories is by developing that relationship with the community.
With area public schools opening soon, PACTV Community News visited with an author from Duxbury who has written a book for parents of school-aged children. The author spoke during a recent Book Breeze presentation, a program sponsored by the Duxbury Free Library and West Wind's Bookstore. Here's more.
Here it is. Just listen to this. This is a review in Parent Magazine. This is the first sentence. Every so often, I run across this book. So good, it belongs on every family's shelf. Yeah, it's already on. All right, turn it over here. Everyone is coming. It's kind of a yucky night out there, so I know it takes some extra effort. There's a few people here that I want to thank, because I could never have written this book.
So my venture into becoming an author started, gosh, about 12 years ago when my oldest was heading to kindergarten. And I remember walking out of the kindergarten orientation and feeling like, wow, she's going to this big school, this big brick building, and I know nothing about it. You know, we had a little eye test and a near test, and now I'm just supposed to turn my kids over to who knows what. And so I went to the bookstore, I went to the library, and I went on the internet to look for a book about schools and education. You know, what would I expect? What could I expect? How do I talk to teachers? What is my role? And I found nothing. And I remember thinking, as a former marketing person, boy, there's a gap here. There seems like there would be a market here, because here I've had all these books from the time my kids, you know, were infants and I was even pregnant, what to expect. And now my nightstand's empty. I have nothing to really guide me through all these elementary years and what to do and what not to do. And I saw a great need for more parent education, so I started with a few other parents, I started a nonprofit called the Parent Connection out of Duxbury. We're served now thousands of families on the South Shore, and we basically put on different programs and workshops every year, 5 or 6 a year, from different educators and psychologists, child psychologists. And that was a great way for me to really learn more about education, child psychology, child development. And it was soon after that, that was about 7 years ago, and about 5 years ago, a couple years after that started, I was helping a parent write an email actually to a teacher. She was frustrated about something with her child. And the parent later on said to me, "You helped me a lot. Have you ever thought about writing a book on schools? You know a lot about education in schools." And the light bulb went off. I just thought, wow, maybe I could write that book I never found. So I started looking into it a little bit, found out what it takes to write a nonfiction book. And one thing led to another. I started a blog and started putting a book proposal together, which is what you have to do when you write a nonfiction book. And one thing led to another. And I had a lot of help along the way. In particular, one parent who helped me, became kind of a partner. And her name was Jamie Terrian. I called Jamie my brakes, and always there to pick me up. When I just thought I can't write another chapter, I can't write another page, Jamie was there to pick me up, or on the other hand, to slow me down. So that was terrific to have her support. Took a lot of years, a lot of hard work, lots of walls to climb, but eventually I put together the best proposal I thought I could, and I wrote a query letter to query agents, and I revised it 47 times before it actually went out. A lot of revisions until I knew I had it, and I sent it out, and within about 3 days I had 5 of the 7 agents that I initially queried emailed me back and said they were interested. So then it just went from there. We had an editor in a couple months and signed a contract with 10 Speed Press and Random House about a month later. I have been so lucky. I've had so much support from teachers across the board. I had 3 teacher readers who read every single chapter for me, made comments, read again. I've had enormous support from West Wind's Bookshop in Duxbury, Brooke McDonough and the other owners, and the Duxbury Free Library, Carol Jankowski, who has been supporting this book for years, just as Brooke has. So that has been amazing. All the parents that have been really helpful along the way, and my own family as well.
Plymouth County Mosquito Control continues to combat the threat of West Nile virus. Located in Kingston, Plymouth County Mosquito Control provides our area with testing and spraying to control the spread of mosquito-borne illnesses. PACTV Community News dropped by their facility.
We start getting here at Plymouth County Mosquito Control people calling for us to come out and spray right around Memorial Day every year. And that stays up until about Labor Day, then the calls die off quite a bit. But that's the season. Pretty much we're talking about Memorial Day through Labor Day. And that's how most people know us. They know that they can call here to Plymouth County, and we'll come out and we'll spray for adult mosquitoes. If your town is a member of this project, the town is already paid to be a member, which means there's no additional cost to anyone who calls us to come out and spray. This is what we use. We use the trucks, and we're stuck on the roadside to spray, but this goes about 300 feet off the road and will kill whatever's flying in that area at that time. And yeah, this is how we do it. The project has a plane, and we do some spraying in the spring. What we're trying to do is we'll go out and larvicide, get the mosquitoes before they become adults. We will do that, but in terms of adult mosquito control, the project doesn't do anything aerially. That's a state decision, and the state would take care of that. In our traps, and we do some trapping, we're going to find out a little bit more about our trapping in a minute. And according to the entomologist here at the project, maybe 3 times the number of mosquitoes that we would normally see. Now, there hasn't been that much virus compared to last year at this point in time, but here we are. It's August 14th right now, and there's still a long ways to go before we're out of the woods. That could change this week, next week.
So this is a light trap, a collection chamber for a light trap, and it will be full of mosquitoes. And so we bring this back, we put this in the freezer to kill the mosquitoes, and then I dump out the collection, or part of the collection, depending on the how many there are, and put it into a little pile, and then I sort them. And you can see that I have one big pile, and then I have several little piles, and the little piles are ones that I've already identified. So what happens is I set up the mosquito traps that can be a trap either for a light trap, which is primarily used for testing for eastern equine encephalitis because it catches a broader range of mosquitoes. And then we have what's called a gravid trap, which is for Culex mosquitoes, which transmit West Nile virus. So that basically mimics a container, and the mosquitoes get drawn to the container with this water in it to lay their eggs. We capture the mosquitoes and test those as well. The state has developed what's called their surveillance and response plan, and that's based on what we've learned about Tripoli and West Nile virus throughout the year. So like at one level, we might do some spraying like around the area that we think is most likely to have, you know, the more intense activity, you know, based on where my traps are. Or, you know, as the risk levels go up, we'll do spray larger areas, that kind of thing. And of course, we're always doing public outreach and making sure that the the boards of health know what's going on in the town, and then also the boards of health will also have a list of recommendations. So like, for example, at certain levels, public health will recommend that ball fields get closed and those kinds of things as well.
I think people should consider going onto our website. An awful lot of good material about the project, mosquitoes in general, good information at plymouthmosquito.org. That includes the phone numbers, how you can get in touch with us, or if you have a fax, how you can get in touch with us, or you want to find out if your street has been sprayed, there's a number on there you can call, but a lot of great information, plymouthmosquito.org.
As part of the Plymouth Plantation's commitment to 17th century storytelling, the Plymouth Players explore the world the Plymouth colonists left behind in England. Presenting William Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing and As You Like It in repertory, the troupe's summer season soon ends on August 31st. For performance dates and tickets, visit the Plymouth Plantation website. Don't miss a chance to see and enjoy this unusual local theater troupe.
Hi, this is Greg Martin for PCN's Design Corner, and this episode we're bringing you to my garden. We're here in southern Plymouth across the street from the ocean. I wanted to bring you here to show you what you can do with a small amount of earth to make a vegetable garden. We have our home and our yard on a very small plot of land, yet we give about 15 feet by 6 feet, give or take a few feet, of vegetable garden space, and it is all organic, so we don't use anything other than organic fertilizer. We also, in the back of our garden, we allow space for a cutting garden, so we put in sunflowers, zinnias, cosmos, and different flowers, because when the tomatoes and everything dies back in the late summer, what we can do is then the fall flowers come about and we're able to cut those and bring them to the home, so we have fresh flowers all the time. Here we are in our absolutely wonderful, beautiful vegetable garden. These are our cucumbers. We use pickling cucumbers. We like the smaller cucumbers. What we've also done here is we've used this old rocking chair that broke, used to be on our front porch. We put that here and let the cucumber vines grow on it, so it becomes a vertical garden rather than going all over. Next to that, we have some dahlias, which I spoke of, that we have here. We also have beet that are in front of that, parallel to the rocks in the garden. After that, we have Swiss chard, which is one of our absolutely favorite things that we do in the garden. That goes through the fall. So we keep on cutting it, keeps on growing. In the back of the garden, there are the cutting flowers that I spoke of. We also really like heirloom varieties of tomatoes. We have 9 different kinds of tomatoes here. There's a black kiln, which is one of them, and a Mr. Stripey. I don't know what the rest of them are. Back in the far left of our garden, we have our green beans. We love the play on the green, the yellow, and the purple green beans, but what's really interesting is when they're cooked, they all become green. One of the things that we also really love, there's a patio on the other side of the garden. What we did is we put the fence up, but to give us more of a privacy for them and for us, I built a grapevine. And we have 2 grapevine plants, and the wonderful thing about this is when they're ripe, I get to pick them, we get to cook them, the whole house smells like jelly, and we put up a whole bunch of jars of jelly. This year we've got a bumper crop. One of the things have to take caution of, raccoons love ripe grapes. So what we do is we grow mint in our garden that keeps them at bay. So when the grapes start to get ripe, I pick the mint and kind of throw it over the fence, just for added security that they're not going to come into my garden. Thank you so much for visiting my garden today. Hopefully we'll be back here again soon and do some more of our garden. We have lots of flowers and stuff that I can show you there. When it comes to gardening, the really nice thing about that, the design of the garden, you can move things around. You can do things next year that didn't work out too well this year. You know, what's really nice about plants, especially perennials, you can move them around the garden. So don't be afraid to do that. If you have any ideas that you'd like to see to do other episodes of the Design Corner, please contact me. You can contact me via Facebook at the PCN's Facebook page, or you can email me at max02360@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Urigi, Plymouth's Town Manager. I had thought about this segment today and what I could talk about, and I said, you know, I could talk about the budget process that we're beginning to go through, but that's going to be very public, and you're going to see a lot of that the first 3 weeks in December at the Selectmen's meeting, and I'll have information out on the website. And then I thought I could talk about the payment in lieu of tax agreement that we have just made with Entergy. But once again, I don't think that's something that is really something to celebrate. It's a tax agreement. We needed to have one in place for the security of the town's financial future. But what I want to talk about today is some wonderful things that are happening in the downtown area. The first one is that Plymouth is closer than ever than they've been to establishing a parking garage. There was a series of meetings over the last few weeks where the firm that we have hired has gone out to speak with so many stakeholders, neighbors in the area, downtown businesses. They brought in staff members, they brought in members from elected and appointed boards to get their feedback on what this parking garage would look like and what would the structure look like out front that would somewhat hide the parking garage. And of course that will still be the visitor center, and there'll be other offices in there. In addition to that, we are closer to seeing what's going to happen with the 1820 courthouse. Now, we're still in feasibility. Will it work to have town hall there? That hasn't fully been answered yet. But we think we're going to have that for all of you well prior to town meeting. And that's going to be a big decision for this community. The finances are the most critical piece. I think as town manager, you have all made it very clear that you would like to save that building. But will it be feasible for us to put town government services in there? And then, of course, we have a couple private projects that are going on. And you see them as you drive down Court Street and Main Street. We've noticed that the Craffy building, long been in a little bit of tough shape, is now starting to really look beautiful as you walk by. In addition, I went to a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Armory building, and that looks fantastic. That's going to be about 20 condominiums. So you get to see that wonderful blend of residential property and businesses that I think makes our downtown so distinct and different and fun to be in. So I think we're looking forward to some great things ahead. We'll make sure that budget comes out in a way that the residents and the taxpayers can give us some feedback. And let's look forward to some of the positive things that are happening in this community.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of PACTV Community News. Replay times are listed on our website, pactv.org. Just click on the PCN logo to watch individual stories or an entire program.
See us on YouTube by searching for PACTV Community News channel. Like us on Facebook to receive previews each week with links to all our stories.
We'll see you next week on PACTV Community News.